10 cities where home values are forecasted to drop the most in 2024. Also, 10 cities where home values are projected to rise the most in 2024. This is all according to Zillow, who, by the way, just revised their 2024 housing market forecast upwards. Yeah, that's right. In November of last year, they came out and said home prices would decrease by negative 0.1%. However, now they're saying home prices will increase by 3.5% in 2024. Just a month or so, couple months, now they've changed their forecast. No surprise, right? And it's no surprise it went upwards. I think it always does. They probably changed it because at first it was negative. Anyway, that's what we're looking at today. What do you think about the Zillow forecast? They've changed it from negative to positive in just a couple months. Do you think home values are actually going to increase 3.5% in 2024? Do you think they're going to crash? Comment below. I'd love to know. Here we go. Ohio Real Estate. My name is Jason Ferrier. Thank you for joining me today. Please comment below during this article because I really value all your input and your perspective on your local housing market. And please remember, housing is hyper local. Every market's completely different, and no one can tell you to buy a house or when the right time is for you to buy a house. If you are looking to buy or sell real estate, that's a decision you have to make on your own. All right, let's get to the article again. Thanks for joining me. Okay, the name of this article is Why Buffalo Will Be 2024's Hottest Market. Zillow's annual predictions for the hottest housing markets of the year. Factors include expected home value growth, projected change in owner-occupied households, and job growth compared to new construction. So what they're saying here in their article, I'm not sure I completely buy into because I live in one of the hottest markets, and there's some information they're sharing that I'm just not seeing. 2024's hottest markets all boast solid economic fundamentals, relatively fast-moving for-sale housing inventory, plentiful likely buyers, and expectations for stable home values. The Midwest, Great Lakes, and South are home to most of 2024's hottest markets. Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis, and Providence top this year's list. Last year's hottest market, Charlotte, remains near the top of the list in 2024, in part thanks to expectations for a modest increase in home values. So it looks like they took into account not just where they thought, values have been rising the most, but they also looked at inventory, the influx of buyer demand, migration, and household formation. Pretty interesting. Zillow expects Buffalo, New York to be the nation's hottest housing market in 2024, with Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio, Indianapolis, and Providence, Rhode Island rounding out the top 5. These should stand out as strong in a housing market still buffeted by low inventory and relatively high mortgage rates and prices. While mortgage rates have come down slightly in recent weeks and projections for improved affordability and more homes for sale have been more common, the challenges that limited the U.S. housing market last year are unlikely to disappear entirely in 2024. They go on to show you what the top 10 hottest housing markets are for 2024, again, mostly in the Midwest. And here's why I think they may be off. One of the things they point to is more owner-occupied housing, meaning more owner-occupied housing formation is, I would think, pointing to the fact that if you're a owner-occupant, you may pay more for a house or be a little more hungry to buy a house than you would be as an investor who just looks at the numbers. And since interest rates have skyrocketed over the past couple years, investors just aren't getting the same returns. I know I am an investor. The returns are not the same and the deals don't look the same. So what Zillow sounds like they're inferring is that owner occupants who buy houses are paying more and will keep the market steady versus investors. The problem I have with that information is that just recently there's been articles and information published that says the Midwest, including Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, Ohio, are all becoming epicenters for institutional investing. And in fact, more institutional investors are buying in Columbus now than almost anywhere else in the country. And that's mainly due to projects like the Silicon Heartland and Intel, and the Intel factory that's coming into the market and it's being constructed right now, and that's going to drive up demand. So those institutional investors are coming in and purchasing up a bunch of houses, and they're not owner occupants. So I'm not sure why they're pointing to that, but they project that there's going to be more millennials coming in to this area, like Columbus in the Midwest, and that's going to keep house prices, elevated or keep them increasing over the next couple of years, obviously in 2024. The data I've seen shows the Columbus housing markets, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and a lot of the Midwest are now epicenters for institutional investing because they still have affordable prices. So if more investors are purchasing in the Midwest, how can that household formation increase with owner occupants purchasing houses, purchasing their primary houses? That data doesn't match really. It remains to be seen. But the Midwest, especially here in Ohio, you have a lot of technology that's being developed. So Intel just broke ground on a massive $100 billion project in Ohio. And then there's the Silicon Heartland, which encompasses the entire Midwest, essentially saying, hey, we now have a ton of technology factories and technology companies like Google and Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft that are setting up shop here in the Midwest. That's driving demand and driving prices. Let's go back to the article. Zillow's list of the hottest markets in 2024 is based on an analysis of forecast home value growth, recent housing market velocity, and projected changes in the labor market, home construction activity, and number of homeowner households. Vaulting Buffalo to the top of the list are recent increases in the number of jobs created compared to the number of new homes, as well as expectations for steady home values. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's second place rank can be chalked up to its high market velocity. For most months of 2023, homes that went pending in Cincinnati did so in the median of just 5 or 6 days. And they're correct here. I'm just outside of Columbus is where I live, Columbus, Ohio, in the center of the state. And yeah, houses are flying off the market still. Not like it was, when everything was crazy in 2021, but there are still multiple offers and affordable housing is very scarce. On top of that, there's really not a lot of new construction. There's just not. So because there's not a lot of supply and because we have a good labor market and our prices are still affordable here in the Midwest, generally speaking, that seems like what's driving their idea that this is going to be a hot housing market, and a lot of the Midwest is. All right, the article continues. Home value growth slowed in 2023, fueled in large part by the highest mortgage rates seen since 2008. Only 15 of the 50 largest markets are expected to see home value growth in 2024. Wow, 15 out of 50. Even the fastest growing markets of 2023 are expected to see significant slowdowns in the year to come. Hartford, Connecticut had the highest year-over-year home value growth of any of the country's largest markets in 2023 at 11%. That rate is expected to decline to 0.7% in 2024. Charlotte, last year's hottest housing market, is expected to maintain its steady growth at 1.2%, and Buffalo's typical home value is expected to decline by 0.2%. So looks like just because one of the cities made the hottest housing list doesn't mean home values are going to shoot up substantially. It could actually decline, like in Buffalo. So inventory and velocity is what they're pointing to as major factors with the hottest housing markets. They say the markets with the fewest listing days per home in 2023, in other words, where the homes generally sold the fastest, were Hartford, Cincinnati, and Columbus. So if homes are moving quick when they hit the market, and if there's a tight supply, that is a good indicator prices will remain sticky or even increase. Definitely not crash. So Zillow points to demographics as another reason why they would label a city hot or cool. And so Columbus, Ohio, for instance, right where I live, it says in 2024, only 14 of the 50 largest markets are expected to see home ownership rise. And they point to Columbus, Ohio, with a trend suggesting the formation of 11% more owning households, assuming there are homes available for them to buy. Good point. Austin and Memphis follow at 9.7% and 9.6%, respectively. Of the markets with negative demographic pressure, Birmingham is expected to have the least, negative 25%, then San Diego, negative 21%, and Oklahoma City, negative 20%. So this points to, they're saying in Columbus, there's going to be 11% more folks own homes in 2024 than they did in 2023. It's a pretty big jump. All right. Then they go on to talk about the coolest markets of 2024. Where will those be? Well, according to Zillow, they're going to be New Orleans, San Antonio, Denver, Houston, Minneapolis. Those are supposed to be the coolest markets in 2024, according to Zillow. I'm also going to show you in a second more markets that are expected to drop according to their price forecast. Remember, this forecast was adjusted upwards over the last couple months. Check this out. So this article is courtesy of Resiclub Analytics. Resiclub is a fantastic data analytics company for real estate, headed by a guy named Lance Lambert. I encourage you to check out their information and their website. It's linked below in my description. They have awesome information on the real estate market, maybe the best that there is on the internet. So this map is one of the maps they put out that shows the Zillow home price index forecast over the next 12 months. And that's what you're seeing right now. This will show us in blue where home prices are projected to increase the most. The darker the blue, the higher increase, and the darker the orange, the bigger decline. So we already know that New Orleans is projected to be down. How much? Down 2%. Who else is there? There's one that's even down more. Lake Charles projected negative 6.5%. I also have San Francisco down 0.8% and San Jose down 2.9%. So there's obviously areas, you can see the map, there are areas where home prices are supposed to drop. But sorry to say, it's not most of the United States. This map is mostly blue. So let's look at some values where they're supposed to go up the most. According to their information, Columbus is one of the hottest markets. That's 4.4% increase in value projected. Cincinnati, 3.6% increase in value. But remember, they're not just saying home values are going to increase in the hottest markets the most. They're also saying things like the demographics and the household formations and how many people in that market are actually purchasing a house to own. Because if I look at Pocatello, Idaho, it's up 6.8% supposed to in 2024. Yuma, Arizona, up 5.6%. And comment below, if you live in one of these markets, I'd love to know, are you seeing home values increase like this? And by the way, do you think home values are going to increase like this? More cities are supposed to go up in value according to Zillow. Knoxville, Tennessee, up 7.2% in value. There's some areas on here I was really surprised about. Let's go down to Miami, 5.3% increase in value. Naples, 5.2%. Look at Saginaw, Michigan, up 6.9% in value. One of the things you'll see by this map that I noticed immediately is the max is 7%. So, Zillow is not projecting 10, 15, 20% price gains in any spot in the United States right now. And they're really not projecting anywhere to crash. I mean, you're looking at 6%, 5% decline maybe. San Francisco, a couple percentage points, but nothing like, people were hoping for like a 20% or 25%, housing market crash. So what do you do as a buyer or seller or investor of real estate, given this information from Zillow? Well, remember, Zillow's data is just an estimate and a forecast, and they've already revised it one time over the last couple months. So I would take this with a grain of salt. Now, some of their points are valid. If you have lower inventory and not a lot of supply and demand stays the same or even increases like here in Columbus, which they think the demand will increase here, obviously prices can go up. One of the encouraging things I think for buyers is that they're not projecting prices to shoot up, 20% in 1 year. I personally think that home values will rise about 3 to 5% in 2024. That's my call I made in late last year. But locally, here in Ohio, in Columbus, in central Ohio, I think home values will go up 5 to 10%. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was more than that because of the influx of demand with institutional investing and the Intel project in the Silicon Heartland. But for other areas of the country, we really have to know your local market down to your neighborhood. If you see supply increasing, if you see, houses, the number of houses for sale increasing in the price point you're looking for, that is a good indication that prices could soften and come down. If you see that supply constrained and not increasing, that's a good indication that prices will remain sticky. Got to remember that. I hope you got some value out of this video today. If you can take away one thing, I would say understand your local housing market and don't use the Zillow data as gospel. Take it with a grain of salt. Thank you for watching me today. I enjoyed putting this video together. I appreciate your time. Comment below. I love reading the comments. And please like and subscribe to my channel. I post regular updates twice a week about the housing market and real estate nationally and locally here in Ohio. Anyway, thanks again. Have a good day. See you on the next video.